Have you ever wondered how the most successful brands bring their stories to life on screen? Join us as we dive into the world of cinematic storytelling. Now, in this episode, you're going to discover the secrets behind creating powerful and engaging and authentic videos that not only captivate audiences, but drive growth and success.
Welcome to Fortify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Trevor Rappleye. He's the CEO and creative force behind Franchise Filming. Now, his company creates compelling videos that capture the essence of franchising success. And today we're going to be sharing insights and discussing about the intersection between filmmaking and business and how you can do authentic storytelling and drive franchise growth, but anybody's business growth. Because we're live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and a few other places. And even if you're listening, if you're not in franchising, it's still relevant. So stay tuned. Welcome, Trevor. I want to ask you the first question. What led you to focus on storytelling for franchising?
Yeah, Ford, thank you for having me. So, as with everybody, I accidentally fell into franchising, right? I feel like no one really seeks it out, and I was one of them. So it's back in 2019, I did a video for Go Minis franchising.
Yep, I spoke for the Go Minis,
Yep. Love them. And they found me on Google. I was doing the AdWord of like videographer for like $4 a click. Got this call. I told them my rate. He's like, Trevor, you seem cool, but there's just no way that we can do that. Time goes by. They like my follow-up. He goes, all right, Trevor, I like you. Can you make me a Fran Dev video? And I'm like, so I have one question. What is franchise development? And he goes, all right, good thing I like you. Let me tell you all about franchising. So we make the video and he goes, dude, you should go to IFA. And I go, what is IFA? And back in 2019, 1900 for an expo just didn't make sense to me. So I put that all on my card and I haven't looked back since. So.
Well, congratulations. So I got the backstory for me. So I started as an entrepreneur, built a bunch of businesses up through multiple channels of distribution. Then that led to speaking, training, coaching, consulting. And I get a call 25 years ago, and this person says, yeah, we want you to come speak at our franchise brand for our Z's and Zors. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is a Z and what the hell is a Zor? Like This is 25 years ago. So I'm like, okay. So they had to explain to me, well, you see, you got these franchisors, they own the company, and then you've got franchisees that are the local independent business owners. And I'm like, oh, well, I've worked with thousands of independent business owners. So just like that, I fell into franchising. So even though I speak at organizations all over the world, I've been presenting now at IFA for 5 years in a row. I've spoke at the global conferences, and I've spoke for a lot of the people. In fact, that's where I saw your booth at IFA this year. And we made the connection. My team said, hey, let's get Trevor on to talk about filmmaking, because I run a digital agency and I always love adding value. So even if you're listening to this, here's the deal, guys. So if you're in franchising, there's Z's and Zors. What Trevor does, and I'm going to say it from my perspective, is he works with brands that are 50 units and up, where they're at that place where it's worth for them to invest in creating a demo video or a sizzle reel, a video that's going to be compelling enough, because the franchise world is super competitive and video is the best way to communicate because it engages all the senses. And so what Trevor's firm does is he creates these compelling videos to help franchisors get new prospects and convert them and shorten that sales cycle so they become potential franchise prospects, and then also whatever other videos that they may need. So when it comes to this thing of storytelling, which why I thought this episode would be great, everybody's probably read in the marketing world Donald Miller's Storytelling, right? And
yeah,
there's nothing, when I read that book, I was like, holy crap, I should have just wrote that book. Like I'm reading it, and I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm like, yeah, I do that. Yep. That's what I do. So there, success leaves clues. So when you work with a brand, so I'm going to open up the question now. When you work with a brand, they usually have sticker shock when it comes to the price for the project, right?
Usually I would say they have to be educated a little bit on what it truly is. Yes, I would say that's fair.
So what the tip there, what I'm saying to everybody is, you never reveal price before value, right? I mean, if someone they can Google my fee. My keynote fee is 25 grand, right? Sometimes I'll do less, sometimes it's more. But if someone calls me and says, what's it cost to, speak at our conference, and I say 25 grand, the next thing I'm going to hear is click. So So the whole point here is never reveal price before value. And if someone calls and says, hey, how much does it cost to do a video? What they really want to look at is, what does it cost you what are the lost opportunity costs because you're not communicating? How many leads are you missing? How many opportunities? And what's duplicatable? So the advantage of doing a video like me, and I have a keynote video. I invested a lot of money to make this 3-minute keynote video, because in the speaking world, now you're talking more about franchise world, but as far as video storytelling in the speaking world, having a compelling narrative that helps me position myself against the hundreds of thousands of speakers that are out there, the video is used to do two things: to qualify me or disqualify me. If you don't have a good video, it can actually hurt your brand. So what you do with franchise brands, I think, is so compelling, because I also am a strategic advisor to franchise brands. And one of the first things I tell them was, you need to tell your story, right?
It is, Ford, it is one of those things where I'm shocked in 2024 that I still have to convince people to do that. But it's like, all right, this is my goal. We all know the best salespeople aren't afraid to teach, right? So exactly, when people call us, they're like, Trevor, hey, I've seen your stuff. How much you cost? I'm like, well, first off, hi. Secondly, I don't know what you need, so I can't quote if we don't have a conversation. So let's dive into what you're trying to solve. Oh, I'm trying to sell more franchises. Okay, so walk me through that. What could one franchise do for you over the franchise fee, over the royalty fee? And then we go through it, and about 20 minutes in, they are either like, wow, that makes sense, or they're like, wow, we got to wait until next year because my leadership are the ones that aren't bought in. But it at least opens their eyes to, 97% of the world watches video content on YouTube. So people that have access to the internet are watching videos. Why, when leads go on your website, do you not have stories of your franchisees, of their success, and all that? So that's the one thing that we solve, is just highlighting and giving brands the social proof that they need to attract the ideal candidates to their opportunity.
Yeah. And obviously I run a digital marketing agency and we do video production. I've never solicited, when I'm at IFA, I'm working for keynotes. Like, I'm not trying to, I have the agency side, but most of the franchise brands, they have a preferred vendor or they have people. And since I have a smaller staff, don't worry, there's no competition here. I have no desire to try to create all these videos, especially when I know how long it takes to create a video. And here's the thing that's funny is, I tell people, if you're asking the wrong question, the answer doesn't matter. So it's not what does it cost you to do the video. You've got to diagnose before you prescribe. Like you said, you've got to ask them questions. But I think that anybody listening to this, and certainly they should share this episode, if you're in a franchise brand, if you're in a business, look at your digital footprint, look at your website. Do you communicate with video? And the bigger question is, what are the top questions that your ideal client has, and are you using video to solve it? So I want to say this, and I'm interested in having you disagree, agree, whatever, too. It's not about me, but for me, I want videos that are going to help answer their top questions, but I only want to give them enough information to take the action step I want them to take. I'm not trying to use video to replace the process. I'm trying to look at the customer journey and go, where in this customer journey does it make sense to have duplicatable video content? Because for me, if I talk to, like, let's say you're putting on a conference and you're doing a conference for franchise filming. And for those of you listening to the Business Growth Podcast, the audio, we're talking to Trevor Rappleye. I'm going to spell his last name, Rappleye. You can check him out online at franchisefilming.com. That's his company. And today we're talking about, the impact of video. So when I, just a little plug there, so that way people know who I'm talking to, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So I look at the storyboard, I look at the customer journey, and I look at where video can be used. But the real reason that I need video is because if I'm talking to you as a CEO and you say, Ford, we're putting a conference together. We're going to bring all of our franchise brands together as a thank you meeting. We're interested in having you come speak to our franchisees. Tell me about yourself. Well, I can tell you, and then I can say, here's my demo video. But what if you have a board of directors or other decision makers? What video can do is it helps them. The same thing with a franchise brand. If someone's considering becoming a franchisee, and maybe they're doing the research, maybe their mom and pop, maybe they want to share it with their spouse or their partner or their partner group or their private equity group. Well, the video is going to tell the story a lot better than if I leave and go, hey, I just talked to XYZ company and I don't know what to do it. So I think it really helps clarify the communication. But what do you see as the biggest reasons that they should get and use video?
Yeah, so I hear all the time, Trevor, once leads are on the call with us, they're sold. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe you exactly, because the best salespeople are other people talking about you, right? So we have to be thinking about what is the power of other franchisees talking about what your brand has done for them, right? So Forbes says 4 out of 5 people don't trust what the brand says about themselves, but they trust what someone else says about the brand. It doesn't even have to be someone that they know. It can be anybody, but it can't be the brand. So the brand can talk about themselves and the salespeople, but if you show a video or if you nurture them with video content of franchisees and how their life has gotten better, not just their work life. Half of our FranDev content days are filmed outside of the office.
Yep.
Because people don't get into franchising to stay in a dark room from 9 to 5. They get into it to see their kids more and to go on the camping trips that they don't get to go on, right? So with how long it takes to usually sell a franchise, we need to make sure that there's content across different stages of the journey about where they are, right? So we usually make a set of 15 or so films at a minimum from top of the funnel, middle of the funnel to the bottom, which is my favorite one, which is, all right, are you ready to take that next step? I'm the CEO of XYZ. Take a look at these franchisees, and these franchisees are saying, hey, dude, do this. Your life's going to change. It just like pushes them to take that next step.
Absolutely. So I just got done with a 7-city tour with Anytime Fitness. And while I was there, I captured social proof when I got off stage, when anybody came up and said, that was amazing. That I have pages full of notes. And that was the best keynote speaker we've had in 15 years or whatever they say. I grab my cell phone and I say, do you mind if I capture that?
Bravo.
I'd like to share it with my team. So the key is look for the happiness moment. I don't say, can I take this video and put it all over the internet? I say, I said, that's great. Can I share this with my team? So I grab my phone, I get them saying what they said. I beg the question, I get the footage. And then I say, man, Trevor, that was so good. Can I use it? Well, once you filmed it, then you're okay because you're not nervous anymore. Now I take those videos and I string them together and they become sizzle reels. So when I'm considered up against a speaker, because when you get considered for a conference, they're looking at 10 leadership speakers, 5 marketing speakers, 3, team building, 2 staffing, whatever. So I send my demo video and a sizzle reel with 5 CEOs giving me sound bites about working with Ford, and he helped our franchise. And that helps me get a huge closing rate because it does my work for it. And just like you said, and I tell brands the same thing, you don't own your brand. It's the perception of the eyes of the prospects. So if someone's being considered joining a franchise organization, becoming a franchisee, if they watch your videos at the different stages of the funnel, that's going to help them convert. And for those of you taking notes, let's look at the stages of the funnel, right? So you have awareness at the top. They're aware they're interested in becoming a franchisee. Then they're doing research and they're trying to find out B2B franchisees, B2C franchisees, maybe in this certain state or certain industry. So they're researching and then they're going to compare, right? Maybe you're going to open up like in Anytime Fitness. Well, maybe you're going to open up a Planet Fitness, a Crunch Fitness, or an Anytime Fitness. Well, there's an opportunity for a video based on comparison. You have awareness, research, comparison, and now they're shopping. Now they're like, okay, I have this much budget. I have this much. This is the kind of business I want. Do I want a kiosk? Do I want a truck? Do I want a mall location? Do I want a service-based business? And then they're actually shopping. So, and again, I'm not taking Trevor's, this is my content, but I'm sure it's very in alignment with what you're doing because it
very much is
of what I do. And so then the brand isn't just getting a video about, oh, here's ABC company. It's strategic. So the takeaway for the audience here is look at your customer journey, look at where could video be used, and pay for a competent professional to put it together. Now, there are some things you can do with authentic videos. Like I think there's a lot, like my testimonial videos or on my iPhone, it's 4K. It's good footage, and people will forgive poor video, just not poor audio, right?
Poor audio. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you got to have good audio, right? And so, so now they know why they need the video, right? So now let's say why. How do you go about working with a brand to capture their story and tell their story so that it's authentic and not just slimy where people don't really want to watch it?
Yeah. So I can tell you it's the S word that every franchisor tries to wiggle in, and it's scripts.
Right.
Right. I mean, I would say maybe 3% of our videos have scripts, and that usually freaks out the franchisor, but it's like, hey, that like this has to come from the franchisee's mouth. It cannot come from HR or scripted. Whenever we get anything scripted, I basically rip it up, say, hey, let me ask this in a question form and hit on the emotion of it, right? And maybe once a year out of the hundreds of shoots that we do, does a franchisee not give a good answer of what we need? So we'll kind of guide them back. So there's really no harm in asking questions first and having the script on the back end. So, you know, the other thing that we overcome usually is, hey, Trevor, my franchisees are everywhere. Like, does that mean we're going to go to 20 different cities? I go, well, we definitely can, and we have. But what I would recommend is there a hub? Dallas, Sacramento, you know, insert other city I can't think of right now, where there's a hub of franchisees. We go around for 1 or 2 days, back to back to back. We film Bobby, Jimmy. I once again can't think of other names. And we just film throughout.
I get it.
Throughout that. And that's a whole year of content. And for anyone in marketing that's listening, we can also get a customer that same day. We can also get a staff member testimonial that day. So then people can share the budgets and it becomes really specific. So I think of us as a scheduling company, video team, because we're all about the logistics, because anybody can get a camera and film someone in front of them. It's the scheduling and it's the logistics and it's the expertise before, but also we take only 5 to 10 days to make the videos once we filmed. So it's the speed also.
Well, and that's really amazing because, you know, in the speaking world, demo videos are a really important thing. And, you know, you can spend anywhere from, you know, you can go to Fiverr for $100 all the way up to $50,000 for a production company to come and go to a conference and do a 3-camera shoot and put the whole thing together. You know, I think I spent probably 30 grand on mine. But again, my keynote fee is 25 grand. So it makes sense, good, right? I mean, you know, I mean, and for those of you listening, I do have presentations that fit most reasonable budgets. So if you're considering me for your conference, by all means, call me first. Don't just disregard it. And there's speakers that make a lot more money than me do. I mean, I spoke at IFA, and I know one of my buddies got the opening keynote, and they paid 50 grand. And I'm like, you make the same amount I do, and you just charge 50 grand. So fee is relevant. We know that, but when it comes to video and this topic that we're talking about today, I think the real takeaway here is step back from your business, regardless of what role you have in your business. But if you're in anything having to do with marketing or sales, if you're not leveraging the power of video, and I mean beyond just doing video, you really should look at how you can tell that story authentically. And I want to echo on something that Trevor said, which was about scripting. So I'll use a teleprompter script for like a hook. Like for this episode, I had a basic opening. I'm going to do the hook. It's not a real high risk thing. It's not something that millions of people are going to watch. It's just a quick hook. And with the music, no one really cares, right? It's good enough. And then I do the opening because I always want to know who's the guest, what am I speaking about? But then from there, the questions aren't scripted. It's me having a dialogue with the guest, and then doing it, and then I have an outro. So I have a basic flow to the episodes. When I go and speak, it's the same thing. When I create testimonial videos, I pretty much ask the same types of questions. What was the impact from today? What did you like about Ford's style? What would you tell other people that are interested in using them? So I ask those questions. They give me the answers. And then I have this beautiful narrative, because it's not about, I don't want them to say, well, Ford was a great speaker. Well, yeah, I've been doing this for 34 years. I want them to talk about the results. and the action steps and the takeaways. And that's what you do when you work with your brands. If you're going on site and you're interviewing the franchisees, and the words that we're using right now for everybody is social proof and credibility. So the video should help you shorten that sales cycle, overcome buyer's remorse. That's the other thing. You know, when someone makes a decision to become a franchisee, they can get scared. They could back out. Well, those videos help reinforce their decision-making. It also helps them communicate and remember what's important. And so whether it's Go Minis or any of the other brands that you've worked with. So now we know that you don't use a script. We know that you're capturing the essence of what they do, and you're giving them a variety of video things. What do you find are some of the top challenges? Like, what are some of the horror stories? We won't name any names, but what are some of the horror stories that you've run into?
Your sound effects are great. I want to find a way to use that next time I'm talking to my team on my all hands. Like, I'll find a way to loop in sound effects. So some of the horror stories. I mean, I can tell you we have very few just because I've learned so much. I came from the wedding world where I filmed over 300 weddings. Like, I made so many mistakes during that time that, like, I already know what not to do in this space. Right. And I would say the biggest thing we've learned is we aren't afraid to speak up, because it's usually there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And someone will come in at the 11th hour that is someone we can't really say no to and be like, change everything. And then the team will call me and I'll like text them, hey, can we chat? I'm walking my dog. I'm having a beer. Like, let's just talk. And I explain how many months we've worked to get to this point, that it wouldn't make sense to change everything or add 6 interviews or do any of that. And once people just kind of see the why with it, they'll kind of go with it. Right. But we haven't had a ton of, I've never been asked that before. That's a good thing to ask. I want to give advice to someone that's listening. I would say we haven't had horror stories because of how much we schedule. Logisticize, whatever that word is, right?
It's a word.
Yeah. So we have 324 steps that we follow for every single filming day. So people can have someone that just films and they would be a lot less, or they can have a system that guarantees the output of what they're investing in, which is video that actually tells a story and that actually provides the social proof that they need. Right. And a little background about me. I'm not sure if you.
No, let's share it.
Yeah. So the reason why we started No Scripts, and of course, the minute I say it, I'll start to do it. I had a really bad speech impediment when I was a kid. I stuttered so bad, couldn't even speak. And at around 15 or 16, I started to read out loud every single day, and that worked my vocal cords. And it doesn't really come out now, but it does. It does sometimes, when I'm on stage. And the worst thing I can do is not address it, because I can't have people think I don't know what I'm talking about. Right. So this happened on the last stage, couldn't get the word out. And I see people going like this and they're like, oh no, he's losing it. And then I say, hey guys, my stutter's coming out. I know what I'm talking about. I'm so happy to be here, but my stutter's coming out. So just work with me. And the minute I said that, everyone smiled, they leaned back. And then we actually signed 4 deals within 20 minutes after I spoke at that session. And they said it's because you had a great special, but B, because you were so authentic, and we want that authenticity in what we do. So that's so important. Congratulations. Yeah, since you like the sound effects, we'll just put some clapping on that. There you go.
So what's really important here, everybody, is authenticity is a lot more. I mean, I grew up in the projects. I grew up in foster care. On a podcast, occasionally I've said shit. Whoops. And I forget to push the button. Now I would never do that in a keynote presentation, but it is who I am. I mean, I'm straight talk. Now it was interesting because I was working with Chuck and Dave from Anytime Fitness, and they were using the F-bomb and everything else. I'm like, I guess I'm safe. Okay. But because they just now bought Orange Theory, and now they've just went from self-esteem brands to purposeful brands. So now they have like 9 different sub brands
So
underneath in their private equity group. So
yeah.
But I think authenticity goes a long way. I know that that's one thing I'm known for as a speaker is I'm authentic. I'm there. I understand what a franchisee struggle with. I understand what a business struggles with. Staffing challenges are hard, motivating different diverse audiences. There's increased competition. The buyer behaviors have changed. There's government regulations. There's economic. There's socioeconomic. There's just so many things that a small business owner, they're wearing so many different hats that authenticity is one of the reasons they can relate. Well, that's because I've run 17 different companies. I've had hundreds of employees. I've made the mistakes. I've had to use my credit card to make payroll. I mean, I've done things where I'm just trying to bootstrap. So I think that gives you that authenticity. And I think what's really interesting is that's more important than anything. If you come across more important than anything, I'm going to go back a second to the problem children. I'm going to ask you a question you may or may not know the answer to. Do you know what a PITA fee is?
PITA, like P-I-T?
Yeah.
No.
A PITA fee is a pain in the ass. So there are clients.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there are clients. Now, no offense to anybody listening, but there are clients that I've worked with during the discovery call where I can just tell they're going to be a PITA. And I'll tell the client, I'll say, look, I have two prices. I have the regular price and the PITA price. And they kind of giggle. And I'm like, look, I'll do whatever you want. I'll change it. But it sounds to me like you don't have alignment in everything you want. So just keep in mind that whatever scope we agree on, if you guys change the scope after approvals, we're happy to do that. But it's only going to cause delays, lost opportunity costs. So I set it up up front. And that's, I think, because in sales, one of the tips you always want to do, whatever your product or service is, whenever you're selling, even though I know today's about video, but in the case we're talking about using video to help sell, if you can preempt the objection, it's always better. So if I know it's price, I'll say, don't worry about the price. I have presentations that fit most reasonable budgets. Because I don't want them worried about price right now. Let's see, am I even a good fit? What are you trying to do? What problems are you trying to solve? So I have to know that. So I think what you've done, and I'm just going to say it a different way, is what's made you successful is you're setting clear expectations up front, not only with the client, but also with your team members, which allows you to have 324 steps because people know what success is. You've done the work ahead of time. And so for those of you out there, if you're considering, using Trevor's company, Franchise Filming, or video for your franchise brand, you definitely should use him because I've heard nothing but great reviews around the industry, which is one of the reasons I said, hey, to Devin, get this guy on my show. I'd love to interview him. He's connected everywhere. So let's get him on the show.
And I'm trying to find a book called Focus by Al Reese. It's somewhere in my room. Yeah, I got it.
It's right here. I got it right below here. Here, look at this.
I mean, if you want to talk about a book that every business owner should read. Oh yeah. Yep. So I must have
now look how fast I did that. Now we didn't set this up ahead of time, did we?
No, I wish my book's usually in reach, but it's not right now. That if you want to talk about, so two things, any business owner listening, it's not good to be a jack of all trades. It works at the start and then it doesn't work when you scale. So Focus taught me that Ford had to turn off a revenue stream to hopefully find a bigger revenue stream in franchising. And so I can tell you, we scaled really quick two ways. The first way is we niched. We didn't fake niche and say we're in franchising. No, we got a new name, we got new emails, new branding. And the second thing is I had the story and authenticity front and center. So people had to like me before they liked the brand. So the first 4 years, it was me, everywhere. And now I'm starting to shine the light on others. And it's really cool to sit back. And now people are liking them and they're come up to me like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I'm nobody. I'm just Trevor. But it's the coolest thing. So 2 tips right there. You gotta niche and you gotta tell your story authentically. It's the only way, right? It's the only way you're going to scale. Like it's the way you're going to beat out everybody else because you are authentic and you have your story front and center.
So on that note, I'm just curious. I have not looked at your digital footprint. I didn't look. I know your website. I actually, when you guys were closing your booth down, maybe last year, the year before, someone tossed a T-shirt at me. So I actually have one of your T-shirts in my room. It says franchise filming on it because you're getting ready to pack the booth up. And
good.
They were handing them out to everybody who was walking down the aisle. I'm like, hey, I'm a vendor, but okay, great. I'll take the t-shirt. So I do have some of your swag. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I'm curious now that you've hypothetically, I don't need like an exact number. How many brands have you worked with? Like since you started in 2019, what's a rough number? I don't need an exact number, but what's a rough number?
Yeah, we've worked with over 85 Zors. Okay. And our first 3 were Neighborly, Fast Signs, and AEDP.
Okay, perfect. Well, I spoke for Neighborly and for Fast Signs, so that's cool. I just like to know the names. So my question is, now that you've done 85, how has that changed your marketing when you have a prospect that comes to you? I'm asking the question, which I probably should have done the research. So I'll take responsibility that I should have done that research ahead of time. But have you put a sizzle together for someone who's potentially thinking about using your services of all the testimonials from the brands? I think it's a very basic question. The answer I'm sure is yes.
No. And imagine if I said no when I was a video company. So that would have been in the hot seat. So no, we absolutely do. If on the homepage, you'll see me. It's like me going, stop, wait right there. We are the XYZ. And then it goes into 7 or 8 or 9 different Zors that speak about us. And if you go to the customer success page, you'll see 25 Zors on there speaking about us. Yep. But sometimes your best leads don't do any research. So I have to, or they don't even go on the website. So I have to show that on the Zoom call. And that's when it registers. So I like to put in my signature, see our happy success stories here, or see our happy Zors here. That's my biggest tip to any marketer or anyone in sales. Why are you not linking one click to your success stories when we email people all the time? It's my biggest tip to anyone. Most people don't have that. So
no, I think it's really important. And it goes back to something we talked about earlier, which is, take a look at, map out your customer journey, everything from suspect to prospect, qualified lead to a customer, client, or to an advocate, right? Because you want to go through that, where you are in the journey. And I have seen people use video incorrectly where they try to do more things. They try to make the video do everything. And, people will ask me all the time, how long is too long? When I tell them it's never too long, it's only too boring. I mean, to me, the length of the video should be, what does it take to tell the story? So for example, my demo video might be 9 minutes long. I don't need them to watch 9 minutes. If they watch the first minute, they can make the decision whether they want to hire me. Now, for those brands that are more analytical, then they can watch more because they want to see what's his style. Does he deliver real takeaways? Should I bring him in? And there's a couple testimonials, but I don't want to overdo it in that. But then after I have the discovery call or the pre-event meeting, then I can send them a link to a couple other videos that might make sense, whether it's on leadership or local marketing or sales or, digital marketing, depends on whether they're in franchising or outside franchising. So that's what I've done to niche it. And then also, I'll actually create custom video. I use BombBomb and a few other services where if I met with you, Trevor, I might send you a custom videos. Hey, Trevor, this is Ford. Thanks so much for having me. So I think that brands can leverage pre-production professional videos like Franchise Filming does, but then just understand the power of video, how their team can capture testimonials and use it for social media, how they, because the whole topic today is how you be authentic. And I think I think people have a real high BS detector. They can tell when the video is not authentic, or even if it's too scripted. If it's too scripted, you're going to put them into a coma. Like, why would you do that?
Like the amount of times I hear CMOs and people say, oh, I'll film or I'll edit it, or they're wondering why their leads are down. And it's like, well, it might not be your website. It might be what you're attracting people to your website, or what's the story? What's the, one of my favorite things is to speak about this topic on webinars or on stage and just be like, guys, I don't even care if you don't use us. I just want you to tell your story. Like, get your franchisees on camera, get your leadership, get your customers, and do it over and over and over again until you feel like it's too much, and then keep doing it. Like that's my number one thing for people. And it could literally be a cell phone to get things rocking on 4K. And my sales team hates when I say that, but I also just want people to get video out there. And then once you have something, then reach out to the pros and let's get some real stuff going.
Yeah. I always tell people, start where you are with what you've got. At least do your own video. I mean, even if it's a small franchise brand, we talked in the green room earlier. I said, well, who's your ideal client? And you said, look, we primary work with franchise brands that have 50 and up. Now, for those of you that are new to franchising, 100 is like a magic number. When brands get to 100, their whole dynamics change. 50 is another preset. But I work with a lot of brands that are startups. I spoke to a company that had 25 franchisees. They paid me full fee, went to Cancun. I'm like, that was really odd, because usually they have a lot more franchisees, but they're like, no, we really believe in our franchise brands. Our franchisees, we're growing like wildfire. We want you to come in and kick our first conference off. So I was their first conference, their first keynote. And so I tell them, start where you are with what you've got. You want to get the footage and start getting comfortable telling the story. That's only going to make it if they're not ready for you yet, more prepared, because they don't know what they don't know. The biggest problem that I have with a brand who, when they ask me my fee and I tell them and they kind of freak out like, oh, that's more, we would never do that. I'm like, what does it cost you to acquire a customer? What's your long-term value? What's your net promoter score? Like, the reason they hire me is not to be a motivational or inspirational speaker, because that's great. And you do want them to be motivated and inspired. I'm a business owner. I want solutions. If I go to a conference, I want to know if I'm going to invest to go to the conference and bring my team to any conference, whether it's a franchise conference, IFA. Like this year at IFA, we just figured out a thing. It probably cost me 15 grand to exhibit at IFA. By the time I get the booth, pay the IFA membership, get the hotels, pay for the booth drayage, all the electrical and crap you have to do because it's union. By the time I'm done, it's going to be expensive. And so I have to ask myself, what's the cost to acquire a customer? Well, I was just there. I just got off the phone with Danny, a CEO of another franchise brand. And he's like, we've seen you at IFA a couple years. We want you for our conference. Now, he didn't ask my fee. He didn't ask. And so I said, okay, I'll send over the agreement. Here's my fee. He said, yeah, great. I know. So he'd done his research. He'd seen me a couple times. So the purpose of video and the purpose of marketing is not sales or trickery, guys. It's folks, everybody. It's giving people enough information that they can make good decisions. So when you're thinking about video and being authentic, what information does my ideal prospect need before? And I would say 80% should be benefits, 10% should be process. So if I went, and I can share the screen here in a minute. If I went to franchisefilming.com, I don't want to know about the type of cameras you use and the 324 steps. I want to know that if I invest with you, which I know this is going to be that way because that's what you do, that it's going to help me solve my problem, because that's what they're paying for. And I try to do this with every brand I work with, because typically they don't understand. Like we'll just talk about Anytime Fitness for a minute. I asked their franchisees, why should someone join Anytime Fitness? And they said, well, because we're open 24 hours. I said, that's not why, now
not why.
Full disclosure for everybody, don't rag on Anytime Fitness. This was just one or two franchisees. They were new, so just let it go. But because they're one of the biggest franchise brands growing right now. But what I got to was, it's convenience. It's no excuses. It's accountability. Why do you want personal training? Because it's going to help you get your results faster. So the reason you want video is not because you want video. It's because you want to duplicate your process, shorten the sales cycle, be authentic, and get a competitive edge. Would you agree?
Yeah. And I could tell you we're all about being authentic. We are rewriting our homepage copy actually this week. So it's funny that you actually brought that up. Absolutely. So if you go on the homepage, it is not exactly where it should be, but it's there, right? You see our videos, you see us working, you see the benefits, you see the stats, but the copy itself is a little off, right? So instead of me trying to figure out the copy, we hired an amazing copywriter to help rewrite that, right? And So I'd be lying if I remember where my train of thought was going with that. So
it's okay.
Now I'm back.
We were talking about being authentic. No, it's okay. You're talking about being authentic, and you're talking about, what does it take to be authentic, and what does it take to really tell a story?
Yeah. So, and I was actually going to hit on something when you said about 50 units are up, right? For any brand between that 0 to 30 or 30 to 50 unit mark, I would say it is actually more important for you to invest in video at that stage, because now you need to highlight the founder's story. You need to highlight the success of your first franchisee. You need to attract those people that want to be on the ground level of something. That's going to qualify those that don't want to be at the ground level. They don't want, there's so many different ways. And if brands spend so much on expos and pay-per-click, but if they just focus on the video aspect, their life would change. Their leads would change. Everything would change. So.
No, it would. Okay. So I'm going to try something I don't normally do. I'm going to open up your website. So this is full screen on the screen, everybody. So this is franchisefilming.com. We're doing this live on a podcast. So franchise focused videos with an innovative twist, video on demand subscriptions to scale your franchise. So this is me. So let me go back to my screen for a second. Okay. So we're doing something different. You did not ask for this. So my wife always tell me, don't give people advice. Didn't ask. He's nice enough to be on here.
Do it.
So we're going to do this live, and we'll see what we end up with. Okay. So just keep in mind, that's why we're doing it. Okay. So we come into your website, franchise focused videos with an innovative twist. To me, I like franchise focused videos, but I want to know what's different. And this is a curiosity headline, so I'll give you that. But then you got video on demand subscriptions to scale your franchise. That's a confusing statement. The confused mind says, no, to me, if I'm a franchise brand, I want to know more about the benefits of why I would do that. Get a demo, check out our work. Okay. Then we've got, we arrange every detail, 0 travel fees, videos edited in 90 days. Again, those are features, but I want to talk about benefits. Now you do have the brand, so that's social proof and credibility. You've got your little chat bot, so that's good. Video production, as you know it, is out the door. Video production. So I see what you're trying to do here, but most franchise brands are going to be confused. Okay. Now this I like. Here's the benefit. Scale your franchise with video, memorable and engaging videos to get you noticed and chosen first. And then you've got, again, 2 action steps, more social proof. And then here are their stories. What kind of videos? Yep. That's Chris. I think his name's Chris, isn't it? CEO of Go Minis. He's actually been on Fortify Live. Chris has. You got your customer stories. Let's get a demo. Pick a package. Okay. So here's what I would do different. Okay. So before I do that, we'll go back live. Are you okay with a couple tips?
Do it. Love it.
So what I would recommend is clean up your narrative, reduce the content on the homepage to drive everything into here's why, let's talk. Because you don't need to give them all that information on the homepage, because I want you to add your local number. You've got an 888 number. I want your local number. I want your local number because you can keep the 888 number, but people, when they see both, are more willing to make a phone call to a direct line that they don't think is an 800 number, because they don't want a call center. They don't know how big you are. They want to know they're going to get straight through. 2, you need your address, or at least where you're located, because I don't know what time zone you're in. I don't know where you're located. You could be in Singapore for all I know. I'm okay with your vanity number that you have in here called film. You've got your quick links down here, but you don't have the word franchising in here, or franchise video on your links. So I would look at your links. You've got your IFA and BBB and Yelp. That's fine. So I would clean up the footer. The other thing I noticed is you've got LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, no YouTube. And to me, I would expect to see YouTube for a filming company so I could go see testimonials and samples. So now let's go just on book a demo. Okay. Get your franchise video edited and delivered to you in just 2 weeks. Now, I think that's great, but here's my question for you. Okay. You're solving a problem that I may not know is a problem. You're saying I'm going to get the video fast, but there's that triad in sales where you can say you can either have it cheap, you can either have it fast, or you can have it quality, but you can't have all 3. Like
Can't have all three.
If I want it fast, I can't get quality. And if I want quality, I can't get it cheap. So to me, I don't know if that's your most compelling benefit, even though I know you've heard it from franchisees, but if they're new, they may not know that that's an issue. They don't know that. And the reason he's saying this for those listeners out there is because most of the time you hire someone for video and it takes a decade to get it done because there's always 100%. Delays. So I know what he's solving the biggest problem, but I think it should be 3 reasons why franchise brands love us. Number 1, we tell their story authentically. Number 2, we work closely with you to make sure that the process is easy. Number 3, we make it fast. So I would rather have 3 reasons why. And you've got guaranteed your money back. You've got your calendar thing here. You've got a video, obviously, to help sell it. You're in good company. That's great. Hear from other industry leaders. And then you've got some fancy gifts. The other thing is here, I don't want every page. So I'm just going to go back to the screen sharing here. So, whoops, I wasn't sharing the screen for a second. Hang on. I didn't realize what screen I was showing, guys. So we were looking at the contact page and we've got the headline. This is what I was talking about. Sorry, I wasn't sharing the screen. I wasn't looking at the right monitor, but get your franchise video. So I'd do the top 3 reasons. I'd find with the Calendly, but I would probably take off more social proof on the contact page. If I've already hit the contact page, I don't want to be confused and maybe distracted. I certainly don't need to know the process. I mean, I think this is important, but is it the most important thing when I'm ready to book a call? I'd rather see this right up front. So it's, is this perfect for you? Join us and other top brands that are interested in shortening the sales cycle, building franchise development, and blah, blah, blah. So that's just a quick critique. We're going to go back to the Fortify episode.
No.
Here.
And what was interesting for me to see, always love feedback. There was most people don't know this about me, but in 2014, I worked with a business partner for 2 years, best friends, and it ended horrendously. It was one of the worst moments of my life. He was the marketer and the sales. I was just the shooter, right? And to be really honest, I was in a very bad place for like a couple months after. And I said, all right, I can either complain or I can learn. So I started to read a book every single day. And I'm completely self-taught in marketing, sales, everything, right? So I say that because feedback is really important. And secondly, it's funny how you didn't click, which is very interesting for me to see, the top bar, which is the success stories.
No, I didn't even see it.
And that's great feedback. And my copywriter, I'm going to send him this because we were supposed to push this copy live yesterday.
Is that the new copy?
No, that's the old copy.
I was going to say, that's the new copy. You need a new copywriter.
No. I'm not. I think the biggest tip for people listening is pull the trigger on things faster, even if it's a minor tweak, because we have already rewritten the copy, but it's not live and I didn't approve it. So I'll send it to you when it's live.
Yeah, I would.
And I would love your thoughts.
Yeah. So the real takeaway as we get ready to wrap up this episode is done is more profitable than perfect. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a certain quality standard. I talk in my seminars and workshops and keynotes. There's a minimum, target, and optimal. Like I want to hit the target, but if you struggle to get that 2% to get optimal, what are you missing? Like how many people are visiting your website that went, but just bombed off because they didn't? Now you got to remember too, the lens I would look through from a website or LinkedIn or your YouTube channel. Like I was surprised you didn't have your YouTube channel. Like to me.
Yeah, it's a big leak that I own. So
and again, I'm not picking, for those of you who know, I'm doing relationships like this because I want to have relationships, but here's the difference. And here's the real lesson for everybody. The reason you hire experts is they see your blind spot. So when Trevor goes in and works with your brand to tell your story, like we said in the beginning of this episode, you think you know what your franchise brand story is because you've been parroting it for decades or years or months. And what an outside person does when they come in and they interview staff members and Z's and Zors, and they interview suppliers and the customers, they start to see what the real brand essence is. And that's where the authenticity piece comes in, because now everybody with a camera is a producer with Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. There's tons of places. So if you're not using video, the real takeaway today is you should be using video. Number two, how can you do it more authentically? And then 3, done is more profitable than perfect. But no, I'd have to. On a side note, you reach out, let me know. We can jump on Zoom. You just ping me and say, hey, my site's ready to go live. Can we do a critique? I'll be happy to give you a critique, because it's those little things, because I wanted to see your portfolio, right? I wanted to see video.
And it's very interesting. I was not going to tell you where to click. We should have the portfolio side a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Because it was there. So it's really interesting. That's why I didn't tell you where to click.
Sure. Well, and that's the same thing I do when I do these critiques for a brand. They'll bring up their page and it'll be totally confusing. And they'll say, well, let me explain it to you. And as soon as they do, I say, stop. If you have to explain it to me, you've already lost me. Like if I can't tell intuitively, and that's why I said you had a lot of noise that's taken away from the narrative. The narrative really ought to be, do you want to tell your brand story? Do you want to grow and get more franchise brands? We can help. Here's who we are. Contact. Like if you stepped back, and I know you would do this, if you, with your training that you've done, Trevor, if you step back and you looked at your website through the eyes of a prospect, that's what you need to do. And the problem when you hire copywriters, and I don't know who you hired, and that's great. If they're good, they've worked with you closely to understand, and they're not just regurgitating or using ChatGPT or AI to write a bunch of, there's nothing wrong with using AI. I mean, I speak on AI and I do conferences on it, but it's not a replacement for authenticity.
It's not to any extent. It will help people write content a little bit more, but it will not be the authentic arm that's going to drive people. So,
that's, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, any closing thoughts you got for our listeners? I appreciate you spending the time. Sometimes we go longer, but it was a good episode today.
No, you're good. Yeah. I mean, if people want to reach out, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can also text video to 88500. That's just our line that goes actually right to me. No, thank you for having me on. And we actually just launched Franchise Masters season 2. I'm not sure, Ford, if you've kind of heard of the new thing that we've been doing, but that's launched. So if you Google search Franchise Masters, there's about 30 interviews of executives on there speaking about the power of franchising. And there's so much knowledge there, so much knowledge. So,
well, thank you so much for doing that. You'll be at IFA this year, right? This next year?
Of course.
Yep. I'll be there too. I have my booth picked out, but I don't know. It's always a plan, where's my booth going to be? And I don't want to be in the back corner. So thank you again. Thanks again for doing this. Stick around for just a minute. We'll wrap this show up. Thanks so much, Trevor.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Fortify Live. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the Business Growth Show podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. We air weekly at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until next week, keep pushing the boundaries and never stop growing.